The alarm clock screams at 5 in the morning. Most people hit the snooze button. But somewhere in this world, someone else is already up, already moving, already believing that today is the day everything changes. What makes that person different? What invisible force drives them forward when others retreat? The answer lies not in their circumstances, but in a single, transformative decision they made about themselves. They decided to act like they are unstoppable. Right now, as you sit there, you're making a choice. You're choosing to believe either that you're capable of extraordinary things or that you're just another face in the crowd. But here's what most people never realize. The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who merely exist isn't talent, luck, or circumstances. It's the way they see themselves when nobody else is watching. Think about the person who built the first great railroad across impossible terrain. Mountains stood in their way. Rivers blocked their path. Critics said it couldn't be done. But they acted like they were unstoppable, and they moved mountains, literally. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They acted from a place of absolute certainty that their vision would become reality. When you act like you're unstoppable, something remarkable happens in your mind. You stop asking if something is possible and start asking how to make it happen. You stop seeing obstacles and start seeing stepping stones. You stop hearing the word no as a final answer and start hearing it as a temporary setback. But what does it actually mean to act unstoppable? It means waking up each morning with the unshakable belief that you are meant for something greater than mediocrity. It means walking into every room as if you belong there, not because you're arrogant, but because you understand your own worth. It means facing rejection, failure, and criticism with the quiet confidence that these are simply part of the process, not the end of the story. The great pioneers who settled vast frontiers didn't have guarantees. They didn't have safety nets. They had something more powerful. They had the audacity to believe that their dreams were not only possible, but inevitable. They acted from a place of unstoppable determination, and the world moved out of their way. Here's what happens when you truly embrace this mindset. Your energy changes. People feel it when you walk into a room. They sense something different about you. You're not desperate for approval because you've already approved of yourself. You're not afraid of failure because you understand that failure is just feedback. You're not intimidated by success because you expect it. A small business owner who started with nothing in their garage didn't begin with resources. They began with a decision to act unstoppable. They saw a need in the world and decided they were the person to fill it. They didn't wait for someone else to give them permission. They gave themselves permission. When you act like you're unstoppable, you start to notice something interesting about the world around you. Opportunities that were always there suddenly become visible. People who could help you somehow appear in your life. Resources you need begin to present themselves. It's not magic. It's simply that an unstoppable person sees and acts on possibilities that others miss. But here's the question that will change everything. Are you acting like you're unstoppable right now? Are you moving through your days with the confidence of someone who knows their destination? Are you making decisions based on your potential or your past? Are you seeing obstacles as stop signs or as puzzles to solve? The person who acts unstoppable doesn't wait for motivation. They create it. They don't wait for the right moment. They make the moment right. They don't wait for permission from others. They give themselves permission to be extraordinary. Consider the great builders of industry who transformed entire landscapes. They didn't start with massive resources or connections. They started with an unstoppable belief in their vision and a willingness to act on that belief every single day. They understood that acting unstoppable isn't about being reckless. It's about being relentless. Your life is waiting for you to make this decision. Not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not when you feel more confident, right now. The decision to act like you are unstoppable is the most important choice you'll ever make, because it determines not just what you'll do, but who you'll become. But let me share something with you that might surprise you. The most unstoppable people in history weren't born that way. They weren't handed some special gift that made them fearless. They made a conscious choice to act beyond their feelings, beyond their circumstances, beyond their limitations. They decided that their dreams were bigger than their fears. Think about the woman who decided to open the first hospital in her town when everyone said it was impossible. She had no medical training, no funding, no support from the established authorities, but she acted unstoppable. She knocked on doors until someone listened. She worked extra jobs until she had the money. She studied until she had the knowledge. She persisted until she had the hospital. Not because she felt confident, but because she acted confident. This is the secret that separates those who achieve from those who merely aspire. Unstoppable people don't wait to feel ready. They act their way into readiness. They don't wait for courage to strike like lightning. They generate courage through action. How many times have you talked yourself out of something before you even started? How many dreams have you abandoned, not because they were impossible, but because you convinced yourself you weren't the right person to pursue them? How many opportunities have you missed because you were waiting to feel more prepared, more confident, more deserving? The unstoppable mindset doesn't eliminate doubt. It acts in spite of doubt. It doesn't eliminate fear, it moves through fear. It doesn't eliminate obstacles. It finds ways around, over, under, or through them. There's a farmer who once looked at a field of rocks and weeds and saw fertile farmland. Everyone else saw an impossible task. But he acted unstoppable. Stone by stone, weed by weed, season by season, he transformed that wasteland into the most productive farm in the county. He didn't have special equipment. He didn't have extra help. He had something more valuable. He had the unshakable belief that persistence would eventually triumph over resistance. This is what happens when you act unstoppable. You discover that most of the barriers in your life aren't real. They're mental constructs you've accepted as truth. The moment you start acting as if these barriers don't exist, they begin to dissolve. But acting unstoppable isn't about blind optimism or naive thinking. It's about adopting a problem-solving mindset that refuses to accept defeat as final. It's about developing the habit of looking for solutions instead of dwelling on problems. It's about training yourself to see setbacks as setups for comebacks. The great explorers who mapped unknown territories didn't have detailed charts or GPS systems. They had compasses and courage. They had destinations and determination. They faced storms, hostile environments, and the constant possibility of failure. But they acted unstoppable, and they expanded the boundaries of the known world. What boundaries are you accepting in your own life that may not be real? What limitations are you living within that exist only in your mind? What would you attempt if you truly believed you were unstoppable? Here's what I want you to understand. The moment you start acting unstoppable, you become unstoppable. Not because circumstances change, but because you change. Not because the world gets easier, but because you get stronger. Not because obstacles disappear, but because you develop the skills to overcome them. Not because you overcome the difficulties, not because you overcome the world, but because you overcome yourself by developing the skills to overcome them. The person who acts unstoppable doesn't waste energy complaining about conditions. They invest energy in adapting to conditions. They don't spend time wishing things were different. They spend time making things different. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They make the moment perfect by showing up fully regardless of circumstances. Think about the inventor who created the first practical light bulb. Hundreds of attempts failed before success emerged. But each failure was simply information, not condemnation. Each setback was data, not defeat. They acted unstoppable, not because they never failed, but because they treated failure as a temporary state, not a permanent identity. This is the transformation that happens when you truly embrace the unstoppable mindset. You stop personalizing setbacks and start learning from them. You stop seeing rejection as reflection of your worth and start seeing it as redirection towards something better. You stop interpreting challenges as punishment and start experiencing them as preparation. The unstoppable person understands that success isn't a destination you arrive at, it's a way of traveling. It's not something you achieve once and then coast on forever. It's something you create fresh every single day through your choices, your actions, and your unwavering commitment to your vision. What vision are you committed to? What dream are you willing to act unstoppable in pursuit of? What goal would you chase if you knew you couldn't fail? But here's the most important question of all. What are you going to do differently starting right now? Because acting unstoppable isn't about tomorrow's plans or next week's intentions. It's about this moment's decision to stop accepting limitation as your reality and start creating possibility as your truth. The world needs what you have to offer. The world needs your unique combination of talents, experiences, and perspectives. The world needs you to act unstoppable because that's how progress happens. That's how problems get solved. That's how dreams become reality. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop waiting for someone else to go first. The time is now. The person is you. The choice is yours. But let me tell you something that might shake you to your very core. Every single day, millions of people wake up with the same dreams you have. They have the same desires for something better, something greater, something more meaningful. Yet most of them will go to their graves with their music still inside them. Not because they lacked talent, not because they lacked opportunity, but because they never learned to act unstoppable. They waited for someone to discover them instead of discovering themselves. They waited for conditions to be perfect instead of making conditions work. They waited for fear to disappear instead of acting in spite of fear. They confused feeling ready with being ready, and they died waiting for a feeling that never comes. The unstoppable person knows a secret that the waiting world doesn't understand. Readiness is created through action, not contemplation. Confidence is built through doing, not thinking. Strength is developed through resistance, not avoidance. Consider the merchant who decided to establish the first trading post in hostile territory. The local tribes were suspicious. The weather was brutal. The nearest help was hundreds of miles away. But he acted unstoppable. He learned the language. He proved his value. He built relationships one conversation at a time. He didn't wait for conditions to improve. He became the condition that improved everything around him. This is what happens when you stop making excuses and start making progress. This is what happens when you stop explaining why something can't be done and start demonstrating how it can be done. This is what happens when you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the architect of your destiny. Right now, in this very moment, you have everything you need to start acting unstoppable. You don't need more education, though education is valuable. You don't need more connections, though connections are helpful. You don't need more resources, though resources are useful. You need more action. You need more persistence. You need more faith in your ability to figure things out as you go. The unstoppable mindset doesn't require you to have all the answers. It requires you to start with the questions. It doesn't require you to see the whole staircase. It requires you to take the first step. It doesn't require you to eliminate all risk. It requires you to manage risk while moving forward. There's a blacksmith who once looked at a piece of raw iron and saw a masterpiece. Everyone else saw scrap metal. But he acted unstoppable. Strike after strike, heat after heat, he shaped that iron into something beautiful and useful. He didn't wait for the iron to become easier to work with. He developed the skills to work with iron as it was. What raw material in your life are you overlooking? What potential are you ignoring because it doesn't look polished and perfect? What opportunities are you missing because they require you to develop new skills, face new challenges, or step outside your comfort zone? The person who acts unstoppable doesn't need perfect conditions to begin. They need imperfect conditions to grow. They don't need easy challenges to succeed. They need difficult challenges to become strong. They don't need guaranteed outcomes to start. They need uncertain outcomes to discover what they're truly capable of. Your story is being written right now. Every decision you make, every action you take, every response you choose is adding another line to that story. The question isn't whether you'll face obstacles. The question is how you'll face them. The question isn't whether you'll encounter setbacks. The question is how you'll respond to them. Now, we ask of our students, as they come into our program, act like you are unstoppable and watch as the world conspires to make you exactly that. Because in the end, the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the decision to stop acting like you're stoppable and start acting like you're not. But understand this. The moment you make that decision, everything changes. Not just your circumstances, but your entire relationship with possibility. You stop asking permission from life and start giving life direction. You stop waiting for opportunities and start creating them. You stop hoping for change and start being the change. The unstoppable person knows that success isn't about having the right conditions. It's about being the right person for any conditions. It's not about having the perfect plan. It's about having the perfect commitment to adapt, overcome, and persist no matter what plan life disrupts. So ask yourself this final question. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do today? Whatever your answer is, that's exactly what you should do. Because the person who acts unstoppable doesn't need guarantees. They become the guarantee. They don't need certainty. They become certain. They don't need permission. They become powerful. The choice is yours. The moment is now. The person is you. Stop acting like you're stoppable and start living like you're not. Remember this. Somewhere in the world right now, someone is acting unstoppable. They're taking the risks you're afraid to take. They're pursuing the dreams you've convinced yourself are impossible. They're building the life you've only imagined. They're not superhuman. They're not more talented. They're not luckier. They simply decided to act like they couldn't be stopped. That someone could be you. That someone should be you. That someone must be you. The world is waiting. Your dreams are waiting. Your future is waiting. Stop making them wait any longer. Act like you are unstoppable and discover that you always were.